you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me the green light. If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me a sign, just give me the green light.
If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me a sign. If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me the green light.
If you want me to get close to you, just tell me what to do, tell me what to do. If you want me to take over, just give me the green light, just give me the green light.
Hey, you guys! Look, we're here. We're back. We're finally doing a live stream again. And I'm trying to make it like, I don't know. Cool? Trying to make it cool? Is it still playing music? Yeah, for me it is. It's not for you guys. That's great. Woo! Alright, first of all, how's everybody been? Obviously, we've had the chat going up for a little while to preface things, and it seems like there's some sad stories. There's some sad stuff going on, and that makes me a little sad. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully things are turning out okay. Seems like Blue's got some pain that he's dealing with. Your canary? Looks like you're gonna have kinky intercourse with a car. What? My canary? My caricature? Okay, I don't know. I tried to tune my guitar and I think I untuned it somehow. Yeah, those middle notes just got real bad. I don't know why. Well, let's get into it because it is peanut butter hour and I got some peanut butter white chocolate. I don't know if you guys feel like white chocolate, but white chocolate Reese's is good. White chocolate, oh, my fan art character. Is a fan art character usually referred to as a, what'd you call it? Canary? I don't know. But no plans of having a kinky intercourse with any cartoon characters. Not my style. Just not my thing. I keep on saying to people, I feel like last week something happened. And for here in the Coachella Valley, something definitely happened, which was that it got really, really stinking hot. It got over 100 degrees. It's supposed to be over 100 degrees as well this week. And something changed in people's minds where they were just like, I'm done. I'm not having it. I can't handle this anymore. So I'm wondering if you guys are maybe feeling that too. Maybe feeling like you're done, you can't handle it, you're not vibing anymore with what this whole thing is. Grab some peanut butter. Let's talk about it. Oh. Blue, you definitely need peanut butter. Peanut butter makes everything better. They should call it peanut butter. That was bad. I didn't even use my peanut butter. That's all I got. I still haven't messed with any of the microphone settings or anything like that. So, yeah, I've got tons of puns. English teacher, so what can I tell you? I feel offended that my guitar wasn't in tune while I was trying to play it. That's better. That's worse. Give it a sweet song. Okay. 15 pounds. You didn't have 15 pounds to lose, Blue. And yeah, I'm also starting to pace the house a lot. Okay, here's the weird thing. I feel like last week was all at once like this period of like, I'm sick and tired of this. I want things to stop. But then also, like, I'm adapting. I'm changing. So what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about culture shock. How many of you guys are familiar with the concept of culture shock? When I was in college, I actually took a class about, this will sound weird, missionary work. Missionary work is when people go overseas, they live in other places, and they try to talk about Jesus. I don't do that. So that's not what I do anymore, but I did take this class. And one of the things that I really took away from that class was this idea of culture shock, which is ultimately, if you ever go on a trip, right, there are things you have to adapt to, things that you wouldn't normally do, right? You go to France, they put Nutella on croissants, and you're like, dang, that's fancy. Like, this is a whole different life, right? Where people are speaking a different language or eating in different ways, acting in different ways. If you go to England, you're driving on the wrong side of the road, right? All of those are shifts that happen. And when you go there for a week or maybe two, it's fine. You have this like initial feeling of like, oh, I'm just taking a little trip. Yikes. Got really sick and then I got home. Ew. Man, it seems like, Molly, you're just not having a good one. See, there's something wrong with these. There it is. Okay, so this idea of culture shock, this idea that ultimately when you go to a new place or you try a new thing, there's about 2 weeks where you're like, this is fine, this is dope, and this works for diets, this works for new classes, it works for meeting new friends. When you first meet somebody, they call it like the honeymoon phase. You have this period of time where you're like, this is fun, this is great. These are novel experiences. And so if I throw you into a new situation, some of you might experience like this is awesome. I'm experiencing something new. I like trying new things, and just that concept is your initial honeymoon phase or your feelings when you get into that situation. So you had that period that happened. A lot of people were like, school's canceled. Life is different. I'm going to take all these opportunities. I even made a lot of the videos I made at the time were like, you have so much opportunity. Like, do all these different things. Make your life the way that you want it to be. And then you kind of start getting exhausted. You get exhausted by the culture that you're in. You get frustrated by the new thing. And this is how it works when people move to other countries, when they move to another state, another city, any of that, you have this aspect of culture shock. You start to get exhausted by the culture that you're trying to assimilate into, right? I don't want to do this new thing anymore. At first, croissants and Nutella were the greatest thing ever, but like, I just want a bowl of like Cheerios at this point. I want something that feels more like home. And Americans that go overseas and travel to other countries, one thing that they constantly are talking about is that they want peanut butter. So this is why it ties into peanut butter hour, right? They want peanut butter because it's a very American thing to have. And so you get to this point where you're like, okay, I could go for a little bit of what's familiar to me. I could go for that thing that I used to have. Maybe I would, like, if given the option, I'd go back to a class. Maybe if given the option, I'd go to a place or two. You know, like maybe I need to get my hair cut, right? That'd be fun. Let's go get our hairs cut and all that jazz. And you start to get this itching feeling, like this isn't where I belong. This isn't right. Something's off. And then after a couple of weeks of that, in this case, it took about 5 weeks. 2 weeks of honeymoon period, 3 weeks of like, something's off. I don't know if I really like this anymore. And then it hits culture shock. Culture shock is this idea that I don't want to do it. I'm going insane. I want to go home. I can't handle this anymore. So, to talk about that concept, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences living in Montebello. If you've never been to Montebello, I'm going to try and do this like a cool streamer would. And go to maps. Let's see. Guys, I forgot to do the whole thing where I plug in my microphone. Okay. So, you would like a gun right now? Jeez, what happened? I was just gone for a second. So, here we are. This is the Coachella Valley. All right, as we're looking at the Coachella Valley, as we're looking at the Coachella Valley, you can see as we pull out, don't make pull-out jokes. You've got Los Angeles over here, okay? So in Los Angeles, right next to East LA is a pretty rough part of town. You zoom in here and you get a place called Montebello. I grew up in Orange County. Orange County is not Montebello. It's all the way over here. You got Disneyland. This is where I grew up, right? This is a pretty wealthy place where things are, I don't know, nice, easy, not too scary. Like I said, you got Disneyland up here. So if you've got Disneyland right nearby, it's not going to be too bad. Villa Park is a really nice place. So when I moved over here to, where'd it go? Why can't I see right now? Montebello. It's up. That's why. And if you've ever been to Montebello, I want to give you guys a little street tour. Here's City Park. I'm going to drop a... How do I do that? Let me see it this way. Here's a little bit of Montebello for you. It's certainly not like Orange County. All right? When we're looking around here, you see some rough spots, all right? This is where I actually used to work, in this building. It's a little bit rough. It certainly wasn't the way things were when I was in I don't know, a better area, a more wealthy area. For the most part, it was a massive shift for me. All right, and so that shift caused some of that culture shock. At first, I was like, "Man, I'm so close to Los Angeles." Hey, Amy. I'm so sorry, Molly. A pull-out joke. I see what you did, Blue. So there was this massive shift. I was in a place that was very much clean, Disneylandified, right? Very nice. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this other place. It was a very much Hispanic area. I'm not Hispanic. Amy, I will answer your question. That's great. So I was in this area where I felt like I didn't belong. And I actually had this moment, and it's one of my most embarrassing moments. I was living with my roommate, and we were just chilling. We both came from the same place out there in Orange County, and we were trying to make things work in Los Angeles, so we moved to Montebello, and we were having trouble adapting. But he was, like, very hipster about it. So he was like, we're going to find cool spots. We're going to go to Los Angeles. It's going to be fine. And I had a culture shock moment. I literally got in my car and I drove as far as I could back to Orange County so that I could go to a restaurant that I knew. Like just a normal, like I just wanted something like an Olive Garden, right? Like nothing, I didn't want culture. I didn't want any of the fancy stuff. I just wanted it to be as suburban and clean and nice as possible. So I had this weird breakdown. And I remember driving and driving until I got to, what is it? What is it called? We have one here, right next to Costco. I can't remember what it's called. Mimi's Cafe. I got to a Mimi's Cafe and I was like, this is what I need. This is what I need. Just a place to sit down and have like a really normal suburban meal. I'm not that way anymore. But at the time, there was this sense that like I wanted to go back home. I didn't like where I grew up. I didn't like the concept of being there. I felt like it was very whitewashed. I felt like I wasn't in a culture really. It was just suburban. And so I wanted to be in LA. And I liked being close to all of that. I liked having that different experience, right? What, Tommy? I'm streaming at 8:30 tomorrow. You can't do this to me. Moon and Star is a great name. And Amy, of course, I will put your name down. Okay, I'm supposed to send an email out that's like, hey, here are all my TAs. So that would be great. You can help me with streams. That will be part of your TA. Good names for cats, really. Moon and Star. You could also name them like Pluto and Phoebe, because that's like a moon and a planet. That would be cool. With that, I had this weird feeling when like I had to get back to my roots. I had to get back to how things used to be. So if you haven't watched the Monday video yet, I really think that you should. We talked about Of Mice and Men. Here we are, Of Mice and Men. And in the second to last chapter of Mice and Men is where we see, spoiler warning, Lenny basically goes on a killing spree. Accidentally kills a puppy and then starts petting this girl's hair and kills the girl, shakes her, breaks her neck, right? Really rough, really sad story about the Depression. But it was this idea of somebody holding on to a dream, holding on to a thing that they wanted so much that it was hurting other people. And this was supposed to be sort of a representation of holding on to an American dream or holding on to a desire too tightly and ultimately that being unhealthy and something that couldn't survive during the Great Depression. I think that that's a little bit of what we're going through. Culturally, we're having culture shock. But it's not culture shock like one person hanging out at home and, oh, yeah, I'm thinking of the hamster I killed. I'm sorry, Molly. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together, okay? We're going to talk through it and hopefully get to a good place of catharsis, all right? So, this idea that, like, I don't know how to put this. Like, instead of one person having culture shock and being part of something that they don't belong in, we're all doing it together. Like, as a group, as a country, as a world, we're all experiencing a shift in culture. And we all have a sense of, like, I really want to go back to how things used to be. I really want it to just be normal again. And when I said at the very beginning of all this, there is no normal. The normal is gone. We have to find a new normal. I think that a lot of us are kind of like, it's going to be a long time before we go back to school. But we aren't really thinking going back to school won't be going back to the thing that we used to think of as school. Going back to school will be different. For all of my sophomores, you won't be sophomores anymore. Your year is over. For all of my seniors, you won't be at the school ever again. That's crazy. That all of a sudden, just on some idle Friday, you were just chilling, things were fine, you were going to go to school and things were going to be great. You're like, okay, we have the weekend and then I go back to school and that overnight, gone. Really powerful thing from Sunscreen, the song Sunscreen by Baz Luhrmann, where he talks about, and it's a quote from a graduation speech, so I'll send it to all of you guys on Google Classroom and all that jazz. I was riding my bike and my neighbor's kids there had their, oh no, that's so sad. Every time I hit something with a car, it makes me very, very sad. I'm glad that you don't go to school, Molly. I'm taking a little break to clear my mind and also play guitar for no reason. I guess this is my shtick. This is the content I make, is rambling and playing guitar. The pineapple is really just a nice touch, isn't it? So this idea, we're going back to school, or in this case, Molly, you're not going back to the job that you used to have. And you probably had a lot of other shifts that are going on in your life as well, right? And so this new normal isn't a return to things that used to be. It looks like several episodes from South Park. I don't know what that means. So, the way that things used to be are gone, and you have to go through a grieving process of that. And you have to allow yourself to change as a human being to fit the context that you are now in. That sucks. Nobody asked you if that was okay. Nobody asked you if it was okay for your life to change. So this quote from Sunscreen is, don't worry, because worrying is like trying to solve a math equation by chewing bubble gum. And the worst things that are going to happen in your life are apt to hit you on some idle Tuesday. You'll just be sitting there, a normal day, and all of a sudden, things change. These are the moments that completely shift who we are, right? That's my rules, by the way, Molly. When I was in class, I had this. The biggest difference between someone who naturally... Hey, Matthew. I'm so glad you're here. I feel like I missed our conversation, so I'm glad you're tuning in. But yeah, really quick, the be here. I had 3 rules in my classroom. Be here, be open, and be better. I stole be here because I felt like it was weird to have that in my classroom when nobody was there. So I brought it home with me. There's also a description, but it's hiding underneath the chair. It basically says, like, turn your phones off and just be here. But I felt like that didn't make sense because you kind of have to have your phone on to be here this way. So I should talk about that later. But also, Matthew, the difference between somebody who adapts and somebody who doesn't adapt is ultimately how much they're holding on to how things used to be. How much they desire that way that things used to be over the possibility of what could be in the future. Here's the thing, is that tomorrow could suck. It really, really could. It could be far worse. It could be another day like this. And many of us are kind of thinking, like, what's the next big crappy thing that's going to happen? That's going to shake up our whole world, right? And that pessimism that paints your view of the future ultimately also creates this caution in you and a desire to go back to a time when things were good, right? If we're constantly looking backward and saying, back then things were good, right? Let's go back to a time when things were great, right? Then you're going to desire to hold on to things that no longer make sense. You're not going to want to adapt. You're going to want the world to adapt to what you want, right? So imagine somebody who works in an oil rig, right? That they're extracting oil. And if you guys haven't heard, economically, the price of oil has dropped to negative amounts. And I don't think it's still in negatives, but it was a week or two ago. So this idea that oil is no longer valuable, right? They were paying people to hold on to oil because the price of holding the oil was more than the price you could get for it. Like, it was less expensive than water. Clean drinking water was more valuable than oil, right? So you have somebody whose entire job was that. And that was a great job to have. All throughout the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 20 teens, right? All of that time, oil was a great job to have and lots of money to be made. So somebody could be born and live during that entire time and work that one job and work it really well. But people believed that that would be promised to them in the future, and now they're faced with what's going to happen tomorrow, Molly? They're faced with this idea that I want the world to continue needing the things that I'm providing. I don't want to adapt to be what they need, right? So that person who's maybe working in an oil rig or coal mine or something like that, or living in a town where that's the main source of income, now has to figure out how to create solar energy or wind energy or other renewable sources of energy, and they're like, no, I'm not somebody who does that stuff. I liked the life I was living. I liked the place where I lived. I don't want to move to another place and start figuring out how to do electricity. I'm not the electricity guy. I'm the oil guy, right? And so that makes it very, very difficult for them to go through that culture shock, because they're faced with a new situation. And instead of saying, I will adapt to fit my new situation, they're saying the situation should adapt to fit me and what I can provide. And that ultimately makes it really difficult to be adaptable. If you go into a situation and say, tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen except for Molly does, which is great. Happy to hear it, Molly. You go into tomorrow and you think to yourself, it's going to be a crappy day, or every day just keeps getting worse and worse, which I think many of us have actually said, right? You have a lot of trouble adapting to it. But if you go into tomorrow knowing, not optimistically like, everything's going to be great, I'm going to shoot rainbows out of my bunghole, right? You go into tomorrow thinking to yourself, like, there's a possibility that today could be good, and to whatever extent it can be good, I will make it that, right? To whatever extent I can make tomorrow better than today, even if in general it's worse, I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to do my best to make it that thing, right? You imagine you have like, I don't know, you got online classes, you've got a job that you have to go to, and in general, you're like, I don't think this is going to be safe or fun. I feel like it's draining me. And you go into those situations, and every single time you're like, this sucks. Then ultimately, you are trying to make the new way adapt to your old ways. Whereas if you say, what could be good about this, right? In talking with other teachers, I've told them about some of the stuff that we're doing here, where we're like creating a Discord, we're chatting as much as we can, and we're doing it very differently than how the classroom was set up. They're all very frustrated that the old way doesn't work anymore. And I get it. I really liked the old way. I liked staring at Matthew's face when he asked me questions and being able to actually answer those questions. But also, I mean, not to make this super personal, but we didn't have Molly in the class, right? Those people didn't have that opportunity. And so we have a new chance to reach new people. We have a new opportunity to do fun things where I could just, goof off with my guitar. I can play some video games, and we can learn how to do Minecraft together, or I can learn how to make boba, right? Like, those opportunities didn't exist before, and they do exist now. In that way, I'm adaptable. I'm adaptable to this new thing, right? Whatever it is, the culture that we're now entering into, let's call it the 2020s, right? This new decade, we're open to it being good. We're open to it having new possibilities. And we're open to us changing to meet its needs, right? Maybe school doesn't ever look the same. And so for your next 2 years of high school, you have to rethink what high school looks like, right? And maybe you were going to study one thing, but now you want to study something else. That's adaptability, right? That's going to be great, Molly. I love that. I love that. And you're welcome, Matthew. I love your questions. So if you guys have more questions for me, it makes it significantly easier to actually have conversations rather than me just sit here fiddling around and talking to nobody. Going for walks is great. I went for a hike today. I went for a hike all around Coachella Valley area. Hello, Shadow. I'm glad you're back. And it was great. It was hot as heck, and that was miserable. But going outside, seeing new things, it really helps. E-dupe! Shadow, you have no idea how jealous I am. It rains maybe like a week every year. And those are the best days of my life. I wish I could live in Seattle or something. But I've adapted to this new normal of living in the Coachella Valley, which is great. It's great. I was supposed to go on one today, but I'm at my mom's right now. I think going on hikes is great. I'm going to put the guitar down because I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. What are some of the ways that you feel like you're adapting to the new normal? What do you think, or what do you think is going to be the hardest thing for you to let go of in the past? Thinking of it through the lens of Mice and Men, you've got Lenny, who's like, I so dream of holding on to this idea of having a farm with bunnies, right? He's a very simple man. That's so nice, Molly. That would be great, Shadow. Where are you at? Where is here? Like Maine. I watched a video on YouTube, because that's where one watches videos. I watched a video about where they have free land, and one of the places was Maine. There was just like a town in Maine that gave away free land, and I was like, why? Why hasn't somebody gotten this? There's lots of people in America. Go get that free land. West Frankfort. Let me look at West Frankfort, where it rains, which is the best way to live. West Frankfort. What are some things that you guys have been watching or entertaining yourselves with? That's always a good thing. Whoa. Okay. Pardon me as I make weird noises. Where is this at within that place? I can't see the outlines of... Midnight Gospel is so good. I've only seen 2 episodes so far because I got really wrapped up into The Expanse. If you've never seen The Expanse, it's a really great sci-fi, which is just like the whole time, every episode, you're like, I want to watch more. So it really got me through like a good week of time where I was like, I'm going to watch The Expanse and just zone. I don't know where the line is for Illinois. Okay, yeah. Because I was in Indiana. I'm trying to think of how close I ever got to that place. Is that Illinois? Do you know Bourbonnais? Do you know where Bourbonnais is? I had an interview in Bourbonnais when I was traveling around town. Video games and your streams, that's fun. I also started reading 2 chapters of Percy Jackson. I should read Percy Jackson. You know what we're going to do? Yes, The Expanse. So good. And Sims 4 is a great way to escape, right? But what we're gonna do, Money Heist, I heard it was good, is there's going to be summer assignments. I know it kind of sucks, but there's going to be summer assignments for any of you guys that are moving into IB English, which I cannot encourage enough. Like, honestly, it is so much better to go to IB English. If you guys are in my honors class and enjoying it even a fraction, then you should go into IB English. It's so good. Dr. Easley is so amazing. If you get a chance to have her class, then don't mess this up, guys. But they have a new summer reading called Kitchen by a woman named Banana Yoshimura. Yoshimoto. And it is such a powerful book. And I'm going to read through it, and I'm going to share some of my insights. And just like I have been doing right now, I'm going to do that the same way for you guys. So that'll be cool. We'll do the summer reading together. I'll do that summer reading as well as my summer reading, which is we're going to go through Jurassic Park for the summer reading. I switched it up again because the graphic novel of Black Panther just didn't, I don't think anybody got anything from that, which made me sad. I liked it. And we're not watching the weird movie. We're not watching the weird movie. Sorry. We are watching Black Panther the movie and Jurassic Park the movie, but we are not going to watch Harold and Maude. So just so you know. So we'll go over that stuff together over the summer, but I was thinking maybe that will be my third book. I've never read Percy Jackson. I would love to go through Percy Jackson. Look at the Discord! Yeah, I'm sorry for making you all watch Harold and Maude. I had a whole unit planned, and then... yes. Oh, that's weird. I'm down at the bottom of that screenshot. Oh, this is weird. I feel weird about it. Thanks, Shadow. So yeah, I'm not gonna make people watch Harold and Maude because I don't think we'll have time for it within the context of the next class. Is there any other summer assignments? Ooh, I think some of them do, but your English summer assignment will be pretty easy. And Harold and Maude is an amazing movie that I hope you enjoyed and got some fun out of, but obviously it's also super weird. There's an old woman and a young man having sex. And so that's weird, and also there's a lot of suicide, and so there's stuff that I wanted to unpack, and we didn't really get to it. We had other stuff. Yeah, sex. But I've never read Percy Jackson. I've heard nothing but good things. I really like the author, Rick Riordan. The stuff that he said and done seems like a cool guy, so I would like to support what he's doing. I just got like 1 million emails. Bloop. Are you going to come and help me with my content?
I mean, I was going to say hello to everyone.
Say hello to everyone. Guess who it is? Ashton, I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, everyone. I don't know what to do. Like, kneel.
You can sit
awkwardly.
on the stool.
I'll be too tall.
You won't be too tall.
I've never been too tall in my entire life, you guys. This is so exciting. See, I'm too tall.
You're way too tall.
Okay.
Yeah, now you can crouch. Book Walk Two Moons. Walk Two Moons. I was very concerned. See, that's the sort of thing. Like, Neely, imagining Neely as a freshman becoming a sophomore, trying to watch that movie without any sort of context. Like, just like, I have a teacher who's making me watch Harold and Maude, and this poor little freshman Neely, yikes, right? I can't imagine it. I'm so sorry, Neely, that we didn't have time to go over it either. It was going to tie into the beginning and end of class, so yeah. Molly says, how's you, gal pal?
I'm good. I can't actually read it because the light is so bright.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And I'm blind.
Do the Simpsons movie? The Simpsons movie, I thought was a big flop. A weird thing with like a pig involved. I don't know.
I remember one scene in the movie because I always feel like that. He gets like stuck between a rock and a hard place, and he's like bouncing back and forth, and I'm always like, me. And there's donuts, so I feel like that's also my life. Donuts.
But like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, that's a common colloquialism.
Sure, but like you literally.
I feel that way.
I feel same.
Like have you ever felt like there was this scene where the guy, he like rolls out of bed into a wall, and it's like, oh, he got out of the wrong side of the bed. I feel that way sometimes.
Okay.
Like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Mr. Jackson, I may or may not have procrastinated in the last couple of weeks of summer. Yes, I noticed. I noticed a lot of people who procrastinate the summer assignment, and I don't know. I feel like this weird tension about assignments as a concept, because people who feel like they have to accomplish assignments and then do it to check off a box aren't doing the thing that you're asking them to do. Like, they're not engaging with the concept. And then other people, like, they won't even try to engage. And I'm like, then don't go to school. Like,
Go to school.
yeah, but the weird thing is like in college, the college level stuff, if you don't like a class, then you peace out. Like, you can drop out. There are consequences, but you can drop out. And so you recognize that, like, all of what you're doing, your education is entirely up to you. And I thought that was really good for me, because when I was in high school, a teacher would tell me to do something, and it would be like, hey, do this massive assignment. And I'd be like, no, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And then I would do what I had to do to get an A in the class, and or a C in the class. And I didn't actually learn this stuff, right? I just did what I had to do to, like, check a box.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got to college, I was like, oh, crap, what do I actually want to know? And that's where something clicked inside of me, and I was like, all the things.
Right.
I
Which
would
is so much
love.
fun. I want to be a student for the rest of my life. I want to get my PhD
Right.
in basket weaving because I can. So in high school, I did really, really bad because I don't know. But in college, I could be creative. I could do whatever the heck I wanted, and, like, I got to explore that, and it was really nice. But I was gonna say, I had a student this year who was taking a class at COD and was not feeling comfortable with the professor. Not that they did anything wrong per se, but they just weren't vibing. And they're like, well, I'm taking this class for fun, and it's not really fun. And I was like, don't take it. And I do mean, like, I've dropped classes because I didn't like the grouping of people, right? Like, I took a class that was technically in the criminal justice department, so that means that the people in the class were either social workers or going to be social workers or police officers, and we would have these conversations, and I feel like I wasn't fitting, so I took the class not specifically for those criminal justice. So you don't have to love all your classes just because we loved college so much. Do not take a class that you hate. I mean, if you have to take it, figure out a way to do it, but maybe not with that professor, maybe not at that time. He kept taking the class at, what was it, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m.?
I had to
Had
get
to.
my degree.
Right.
So I want to read
Oh.
this thing that Blue told me to read. Yesterday I cried. I've been so sick for so long before the quarantine, and for a while I was throwing up so much that I couldn't even keep water down. I eventually was able to keep water down, and eventually I was able to keep solid food down. The reason I cried yesterday was because I was finally able to make a bowel movement. I went to my dad and cried in his arms because I'm finally feeling healthy.
Oh.
So,
I had the food poisoning a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and it was just 2 days of feeling terrible and painful. I can't imagine feeling bad for that long. I'm so sorry. Drink water, be good to your body, be nice to your body now that it's healed or healing. Oh. I'm gonna cry for you.
yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
And going through that at the same time that there's been these massive changes, hopefully we can figure out what the root of that problem was, so
Yes.
you can get some support for that, because that's really rough.
Yeah, anything with stomach that you can't eat and you're nauseated, that's never fun.
Molly, I'm sorry that your dog just took your food. That happens all the time. Jocelyn, hi queen, woo! And that's great. You know, you deserve it. You deserve to order some pizza from time to time. What was I gonna say? What's a Raspberry Pi for robotics? Asks Ashton.
What's the Raspberry Pi? It's a mini computer, like, that you can use. Do you want one? Do you want to use it and program with it? I don't know where that's
It's like a little mini computer. Okay, Sammy and
Oh,
Edup are taking care of it.
Cool.
Thanks for that, cool kids. Yeah, it's just a small computer.
Yeah.
that
And
you
you can
can
do some
program
really
with.
cool stuff with it.
Yeah. All sorts of options are opened up to you with a Raspberry Pi. And yeah, retro gaming is one of the best parts. You can use it for emulators and ROMs, and so that's helpful. Pepperoni and onions on pizza. Thoughts?
I mean, I like pizza. I like mushrooms and green bell peppers. That is my go-to. But I won't.
Just those things?
Yeah. Like, I don't need anything else.
I'm literally fine with like anything on pizza.
Yeah.
Put sardines on pizza? Sure. Put pineapple on pizza? Sure. Funny thing about pineapple on pizza. Did you know when pineapple was first discovered, it was like $5,000 to buy a pineapple
Yeah,
in
so you could
current
rent
money.
you could rent a pineapple.
Yeah, and people would like just buy them to flex on people,
Mhm.
and they would put them out on their wrought iron fences,
Hmm.
and they would like skewer it there, so people would be like, "Dang,
Mhm.
they got a pineapple." So when this idea of like there was a Canadian dude, a Canadian Asian man,
Mm-hmm.
who put pineapple on pizza.
To be bougie, to be like I have more money than you.
No, like it was just, I forget what caused it all to come
I love it.
together, right? And it's just weird how much the world has changed to accommodate for Hawaiian pizza to exist,
I love
right? Like we went from $5,000, like that would have been like putting caviar on pizza. Can you imagine like 10 years from now, just somebody comes up with the idea of like, why don't we put caviar and cream cheese on pizza? And you're like, what? No,
Anything.
caviar is like fancy. And they're like, nah, not anymore. Now you can buy caviar for like $2 a can. It's like sardines. You'd be like, what? What world am I living in now? So it'd be funny to travel back in time and be like, in the future, pineapples are very cheap. You can get pineapples in cans. And they'll be like, F you
Well,
guys.
I really liked it because you'd rent it for a dinner party. You'd rent a pineapple and you'd put it on your table, and people would think that you have money. And when I hear that story, the first thing I think is people have friends to have dinner parties. I want to rent a pineapple to impress my friend.
Yeah, the idea of having friends is weird. So like,
But if we rent something and have a
right. Can you imagine like having so many friends over that you had to like rent something to be bougie about it? Like, oh yes, my friends are coming over, so I got a bounce house, right? You want to have like a kid,
No kids.
yeah, like an adult
Bounce house.
kid party.
Yeah. Slip inside
Slip inside,
into
bounce
a
house,
into a bounce house.
and cotton candy machine,
Yeah, I could do without it.
ponies.
Oh yes.
Heck yeah, ponies.
Heck yeah. What else?
Somebody dressed up as a Disney princess, doing face paint.
Me. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just have my own party. I mean, we're not even listening to you guys. We're just having.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about it on Discord. I'm glad that you guys are figuring out how Raspberry Pis work.
And we could do a drop off.
Yes.
How can you beat that? Do you have good eyesight?
Yeah, I've got great eyesight.
What's that like? Is it like having friends?
I can't make this any bigger. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Mr. Jackson is easy. What?
Hit me up to maybe I can just drop off a bunch of robotic stuff. Yeah, people should robot.
Mhm.
And Sammy's just like going around like passing out things. Classic socialist.
Right.
Sammy.
I honestly have no idea what supplies we have. I'm not really angry about it.
I love.
As long as we make
I got
stuff.
a message from Tommy, and Tommy was like, "Hey, how do you make this work on the MacBook?" And I was like, "How'd you get the MacBook?" And he's like, "Sammy just dropped it off earlier today." And I'm like, "Sammy has told me nothing about this."
I love that. Great job. Make beautiful things. Make funny things.
It's not funny, Matthew. I meant the text of the chat. I can't make the text in the chat any larger.
Oh, yes, you can.
Oh, I did a boo boo. I made it bad.
Popcorn.
I'm like magnifying.
Which makes me feel so old right now. Thank you.
My dad, for some reason, has 2013 vision.
I think.
Yes, lobster. Lobster
Mhm,
used to be poor people food. They were like the cockroaches of the ocean.
I mean, because they are bottom feeders, right? They like.
Yeah.
But I love lobster. I'm a bad vegetarian. I mean, I eat fish, so I'm a pescatarian, right?
Molly.
What?
Molly spent $45 on pizza. I had a
It's
moment
really
like that.
good.
I had a moment like that where we got sushi.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, this has to happen.
There's a place in New York City that I used to go with my sister, has lobster mac and cheese, and it's really nice mixing something that we think is fancy with mac and cheese because it just makes me feel like so good.
Mhm.
So good.
Sammy, to clarify, I pressed a button. It zoomed in. However, it opened an app called Magnifying Glass. So I referred to it as apparently I'm magnifying. But I zoomed in.
Via the magnifying
App.
tool.
Shrimp are the cockroaches of the sea. Really, like all
I
of
like
those
shrimp.
things are the cockroaches of the sea, and they are amazing. If cockroaches tasted like shrimp, and
Ugh.
you could like just catch a bunch of them and be like,
Oh, I
like,
hate,
skin 'em,
I hate. I don't
put
normally.
them on sushi, and they tasted the exact same.
Ugh.
I'd be like, dope. How is that any different than shrimp?
Because he's scared of cockroaches, you guys.
No, I'm not scared of cockroaches. I don't like.
There's
this.
one in the house and he freaked.
Please stop me, Jackson. Lobster is so good. What am I supposed to stop you from?
No.
I'm just saying.
Like
If-
that again? Yeah. Why is this conversation?
Oh, she's saying, please stop, Mr. Jackson. But it
Oh.
said, please stop me, Jackson. Hold me back. Hold me back. I'm getting so hungry for them cockroaches.
Stop it! They asked you nicely.
All right. Oh, so this cockroach showed up. And what was it? The cat was trying to get at it? No, Pluto was trying to get at it.
Oh yeah, my dog is a cat. My dog doesn't know that he's a dog. He thinks he's a cat. Like he like. Sorry.
The conversation is just cockroaches are gross and shrimp aren't. Why? But why?
If we were mermaids, we would probably think shrimpies are gross.
Oh my gosh, can you
And
you
mermaids.
imagine being a mermaid and being like, oh, there's a shrimp in here. Someone get the exterminator. That's disgusting. And then like also like Ariel she gets legs and she comes here and then she just starts shoving cockroaches into a bag and she's like, I'm gonna be rich. This is legit. Shellfish, shell land animal, shell mammal,
I hate this.
shell bug. Yeah, it's like Gary. Gary's a snail that Loki thinks he's a cat.
I
And-
can't read it.
Oh, also, not gonna lie, I've not talked to Justin since school ended, so I only have like a third of the robotic supplies. Thankfully, I grabbed the Raspberry Pis and whatnot.
I can always reach out if we need them.
I need to work with Sammy to make sure that things are happening that aren't supposed to be talked about.
Yeah. Gary thinks he's a cat, and that's my dog. Like, he'll, like, stand on bookshelves and knock things off, not on purpose like a cat does, but because he's a dog and not as coordinated as a cat. And what else does he do that's cat-like?
I have to answer a question that
Oh.
you asked. So, I mean, he stands on things, he
Like
bats
on
at
high
things.
things.
Yeah.
love my
And our cat just thinks she's a total prick.
Our cat is lovely and amazing to meet.
She's the freaking worst.
No, she's lovely.
I was gonna say, I don't think that there is a difference if you eat meat, period, then you should be equally horrified by eating horse meat and dog meat
Yeah.
and fish.
Yeah.
There's a really good book that deals with that and like the moral repercussions of eating meat that's called Eating Animals,
Mhm.
that goes through it really, really well. It's engaging. It's by Jonathan Safran Foer, and he's one of my favorite authors. If you ever get a chance to read Jonathan Safran Foer, give it a chance because he wrote Everything's Illuminated and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, as well as Eating Animals, and all of them are great. His most recent book is a little weird. It's kind of like his personal story, but there's like weird sex stuff in it that I wouldn't recommend to youth. What country you live in and your address so you can come eat pizza with me. Oh my gosh.
Social distancing.
Yeah, we're not allowed. Bye, Queen. I'm so glad you stopped by to say hi. That's always my favorite.
So was the question about which animals morally are we supposed to eat and which ones we can't?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
just about like, if you find out that a restaurant is delicious, if you eat at a restaurant, you think it's delicious, and then you find out that it was horse meat, like,
Sure.
then yeah, I mean, sure.
One, I was completely vegetarian.
Thank you
for-
so much, Matthew. Make sure that you join us tomorrow at 8:30 or Wednesday at 3. So there's a
Yeah.
peanut butter hour and Sebi's late night sweat bean variety show. Why we call them those things?
We're not very clever.
I don't know.
So no, I was vegetarian and then vegan for a really long time, and then when you grow, your body changes and needs different things, and so I started eating fish for health reasons, but I was mostly cutting out most of the animals, all the other animals, because moral reasons. But I still have to provide certain things for my body, and fish does that actually, I think, better than most meats. But to me, a cow is the same thing as a horse, and that's why there was a lot of issues when we talked about.
And now, in classic Mr. Jackson fashion, I'm going to explain to you guys why thinking it's okay to eat fish while not eating other animals is actually racist. You ready?
No, can I finish what I'm saying? No.
I have a really good argument. Go ahead.
So I was just saying, I don't know what you're doing. When there was the conversation about people not wanting to eat or people shaming people for eating bat or other stuff, I think there's a lot of issues going on with that. But for me, it's like, I mean, you eat a chicken, and the difference to eat from a chicken to a bat or pork or whatever, I think is, I don't know. And again, I don't want animals to be harmed. So if I was going to eat something, I would probably eat a cow and eat the entire cow compared to 50 chickens.
There's something to talk about, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you can get more meat out of something. So eating one whale throughout your entire life is better than eating many cows. It is a Yeti mic. It's a blue Yeti mic. It's something I purchased right as soon as the quarantine happened because I was like, I need to upgrade my stream. And then Miss Ely was like, no, you don't. Nobody wants this. And I was like, get all the tech. Let's go. Okay, so I don't think that we taste like pork. I think that that's an assumption based off of our genetic makeup and how our meat is similar to pig meat.
Well, and I
But-
also think because we...
Go ahead. No, I allow you to speak.
Oh,
and I
you
don't
allow
need
me to speak.
I don't need to allow you. You can just do it.
Nothing, I have nothing to say.
Think of all the krill that the whale murdered. Yeah, well, you know, that such is life. So they've been talking about cannibalism, in case you're wondering what's happening in the
Yeah.
text chat. Here's the dealio. The reason why we think it's okay to eat fish, but it's not okay to eat other animals, isn't because they have any sort of different nervous system, or because we think that they're less likely to be hurt by it, or that we think they're more abundant. All of those things aren't true.
Is it a culturally?
It's just because we think they're more different from us. They're less. We have less empathy for fish because they look more alien. If an alien species came to us and they looked nothing like us and nothing like the animals that we have on Earth, we'd be like, I don't have any problem eating that meat. A weird lumpy thing? Sure, whatever. It's not even really human. It's not even like cognizant at all. It's just like weird lumpy goo, right? And so that's why we're okay with eating things that look more foreign to us, and we write it off as them not being aware. However, that is... Oh, I love Consider the Lobster. Yes, and David Foster Wallace is brilliant and tragic, and also don't bother with Infinite Jest. Like, if you're like, hey, one summer I'm just going to read Infinite Jest, you don't have to. Nobody's going to be impressed. Watch. I've read Infinite Jest.
I don't know what it is, but you can tell me all about it. I'd love to hear all of what you have to think and say.
See? That's a lie.
No, it's not.
So that's part of it. The other part of it, there's an argument to be made that ultimately the only reason why we view plants as edible more so than animals is because we think of them as even more foreign. So in reality, all food that we consume, there's a really good movie about this called Departures. It's an Asian film that's about a guy who he responds to an ad on, like a personal ad that's looking for people to deal with departures, and he thinks it's a travel agency, but then he finds out that it's actually preparing dead bodies, which is a ceremonial thing in Japan where there's like a whole process involved, and so it pays really well, but it's also considered like you're dirty because you like handled dead people. And it's this amazing allegory for like how that culture handles death and how we as a culture, Americans, don't really handle death. When somebody dies, we're just like,
Yeah, we don't.
like, close the casket, put them in the ground. Like, let's get this over with
I
and
mean,
move on.
Americans that don't have strong cultural ties to maybe where they came from. Because
Yeah.
I think indigenous people have beautiful connections to death. I think that are very, yeah.
I think that it is rooted in like cultural community,
Mhm,
right? We
mhm.
don't feel as connected to our families, and therefore we don't feel the need to grieve, or we don't think that our lack of grief really affects anybody else.
Mhm.
/ to make this anti-capitalist, corporations don't benefit from us grieving. So there's no time, there's no money in it, so move on, right? There's not a lot of money to be made off of burying people. Whereas in Japan, there is a lot of money to be made. So it's really cool. It's like a dark comedy, but there's a lot of food. And they're eating a lot. And they talk about how they're eating because this whole idea of death creates life. One must consume in order to live, and that there has to be a balance between those two things. So this is how I justify my consumption of all edible things within a cultural context, is because I think that we don't understand the way that plants think.
Sure.
We don't understand the depth of their cognition and communication between each other. And everything that we found out seems to suggest that they think and feel more than we realize. And it won't change the fact that we will eat them.
Sure.
Like, it won't change the fact, like, I'm not all of a sudden going to be like, oh no, the soybeans cry. All right? I don't eat anything with a face, including soybeans.
I personify things a lot. I can't eat baby bok choy or baby corn because of it. I legitimately almost cry every time I eat it because it's little baby corn and it didn't have a chance. It didn't have a chance to grow up to big corn, and I legitimately can't do it. But there's a lot of pressure about. You're not feeling bad for eating. Okay, don't feel bad about eating. I actually have a story about my mom that's really great. She's been vegetarian for 47, 50 years. I'm not quite sure how long. But she went out to a restaurant and she ordered vegetarian soup, and it was so good. It was like the best vegetarian soup she and I had ever had. And so we ordered another bowl, and then after we finished our second bowl, we asked what the secret to the vegetarian soup was, and they said that they soaked everything in bacon fat for 24 hours. And so my mom, who'd been vegetarian or vegan for 47 years, just ate 2 huge bowls of bacon fat vegetables. And everyone was like super, in the restaurant, super upset about it when she said I'm vegan. And she was like, well, if I stress about this, it would have been worse than, me eating the bacon in the first place. So if you stress about eating fish, then it's going to be, worse than you eating, right? So just make ethical choices. Do whole caught tuna instead of fish farm tuna, and do places that you trust instead of huge big factories, right? Because we can definitely make good choices and more ethical choices.
And I think that ethical choices are rooted in doing what's best for your community as close as you can get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can support people in your community that are raising animals in a way that is kind, and you can purchase those animals and eat them, then I think that that's okay. I think that that's part of the process. The issue is, that was really fast-moving pizza. Good job, Molly. The issue is, that's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But I think that ethically, it is far worse to eat at McDonald's than it is to eat a cheeseburger in general. So when somebody says, like, I eat a cheeseburger, I think that it's worse if it's a McDonald's cheeseburger because of what they've done to
Sure.
the communities that they're in.
Sure. And
That's a whole nother
how they process things and a whole bunch of reasons. But,
Here's the reality of it. Going back to Amy's comment, which I think was, somewhat joking. We cannot have an unhealthy relationship with food or feel like we have to control too much of what we eat, because ultimately a lot of that is outside of your control.
Sure.
Especially if you look at this recession that's coming up, a lot of businesses that were doing farm to table stuff, they're going to go out of business. And those farmers that were doing that are going to go out of business as well. And we're going to be left with fewer and fewer food options, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at people, like I said, I lived in Montebello. Montebello, parts of it are a food desert, meaning that there isn't access to any sort of healthy food or groceries. And so the idea of cooking or eating locally was entirely outside of their ability, right? And I think that is not something you can control. You should have a healthy relationship with food and recognize that any consumption requires a sacrifice on another end. Anything you consume, media you consume, requires labor from somebody else. Food that you consume requires labor from somebody else. And so every single time that you take something in, there's somebody on the other end that's creating that for you. Consume less, but don't have an unhealthy relationship with food.
Yeah. Okay, the last one.
Oh, they fart methane and contribute to global warming.
Yes.
Again, I don't think that your individual choices affect that as much as like the way in which we've done food systemically.
Sure.
So again, it goes back to what I've always said with racism. We are participating in a system of racism. We're participating in a system of animal abuse and overconsumption. Jocelyn, ice cream, so good. Might need to get some right now. Literally have only eaten cookies all day today.
He ate the whole cookie and didn't give me any.
Yes, you are consuming.
Yes.
And hopefully what you're consuming is engaging for you and better for you, right? So if I consume somebody's workout routine, it was a big cookie. It was a Starbucks cookie. They gave it to us for free before I knew that they fired Molly. Now I feel bad for going to Starbucks. It was this big. And then she gave me one that was this big. It was a half a cookie. And she split it, and it's dipped in chocolate. She split it so I got half.
I know. I didn't just take all the chocolate for myself. I shared him the good parts.
Yeah, I would share a cookie so hard.
Yeah.
But I offered, and then she was like, no, it's fine. I don't want it.
No, because we were trying to hide it from the kids. And I said, not right now. One thing, this is completely... my eyebrows are always like... I can't, like, not show attitude in my eyebrows. Like, I really need to work on it.
I also feel really bad. I think this is, like, the first time that you've been actively engaged in the stream since I have the new setup. And you're, like, slightly out of focus. You're not in frame at all, and it feels like such a jerk.
Well, I want to be out of focus because I'm a little embarrassed of my acne right now. Wearing masks and the stress is, like, causing me to break out. And I don't know if anybody else is having to wear masks regularly or if you guys are all hanging out at home, but like I'm breaking out, and it was not something that I am so tall. I wish I was tall. I wish I was. I'm 5'2".
Now you're seeing the real studio. Do you like over here where there's
Oh, I repaired a hole in the wall and I haven't painted it over yet, and that was where we wiped my fingers on the wall because
she just wiped her fingers on the wall.
It's It's like.
And I don't know what's behind you. Is that trash?
I don't know. We don't have to look at it. We don't have to point out how messy we are. But yeah, so my skin has been terrible.
Dear Lord, your
eyebrows. I think I only move one. I don't know if I can move the other. I guess I do. But I was fixing something. I promise it's not dirt, it's plaster stuff. And I'm just gonna paint over it. I didn't know I was gonna expose it.
There's like a big old hole.
There's a pipe that I needed to replace and then seal it off. I'm super handy. Alright, we are
way over time.
Are you being bitten by mosquitoes? I'm trying to read what else Blue said.
Okay.
Something about getting acne. It's a pain in the butt. You're 5'1"? I'm 5'2". Do you want to be tall too? What are you doing?
That's the hole in the wall, in case you're wondering.
Don't show them my handiwork until I'm done. Stop it.
She did good. And that's cat food.
Yeah.
See? Behind the scenes. Into the light. Also, my desk is such a mess. That's the reason I haven't used the desk thing in a while. Because I can
Weird.
Look at just how messy that is. So much LaCroix. So much LaCroix. All right,
the thing is, 5'11" is good. I really, honestly, if I could be 6 foot or up, I would be very, very happy. But I mean, I'm a small woman and I'm okay with it, right? We're powerful. I can fit in small places. I was the best at hide and go seek because not only could I climb up things, but I can hide in small spaces. So I always won. We should have, when we have the slip and slide and bounce house, we should have a major game of hide and go seek.
This whole conversation about mosquitoes has led me to my realization about, have you guys heard about the Chinese giant hornets?
So, okay, I'm sorry about your acne.
And they're in the
6 foot is
state
really
of
tall.
Washington, and they are like the size of my hand. And if
Wait,
you
what?
get
Where
stung
in
by one
Washington?
3 times, then you will die. Murder hornets. You know about the murder hornets. So,
Wait, where in Washington?
welcome to the month of May.
Near Seattle?
I
My
don't know.
sister lives in Seattle.
I should name this stream Teacher Responds to Murder Hornets. Everyone's hearing about them. 2 inches long. That's like the size of my palm.
That's too big. That's too big for a bug that wants to hurt you.
And then somebody commented on Reddit, they were like, it's like those things from Hunger Games. And I was like, I get that reference.
Man.
The weird bugs that like...
They are from Japan, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did a celebrity die via stab wounds? My hand is not 2 inches long. My palm is. Okay, wait. A celebrity broke up with her boyfriend through a Patreon post? How does that even work? Like, how does that even work? Through Patreon. For fun! They take off the heads of bees for fun.
Why? Bees are important. I got stung by a bee a couple weeks ago.
She did. I had
did.
to take the stinger out.
He freaked out because the bee flew up and he threw his hat because he was scared and like threw his hat.
No.
That's what happened. The bee flew. He like tried to swat it.
That's not what happened.
His hat flew down part of the mountain, and so I was like, "I'll go get it." And I walked over. I picked up his hat,
It
and
went like this, right by my ear, and it was like, "Bzzz," and I saw it too. It was,
no.
when he said Amanda Palmer, I thought of Twin Peaks. Shoom, it went like that, and so I was like, "What?" And I hit my hat. My hat was like this. a little
Literally
bit,
what I just
and I was
said.
like, whoosh. Quarantine life, baby.
Okay. You just keep in the face. Okay. So he threw it off the side of the mountain. So I was like, "I'll go get it because you're freaked out
Got a
about bees."
lion's mane growing.
So I walked down the mountain to get it, and then as I did, I got stung by a bee, and it like stinger was still in me. It was not fun.
Shadow is 11, but he's 5'1". So yeah, that's giant. You're a giant person. Sarah Palmer is the person from Twin Peaks that
Okay.
dies at the very beginning. Watch Twin Peaks. It is a trip. And also, who does that? Who posts on Patreon? What are you messing with this?
Well, they were joking about your hair, and I was just gonna like.
Yeah, it just does what it wants. I can't cut it, so I put a hat on it. And also sometimes I put it up in a ponytail, but that's not good either. Because it just makes me look like I'm bald, but I have a stuck-on ponytail. Look,
Aw, I
I'm
don't
the
wanna
Green
be
Ranger.
genuine.
She's of course she's a generally terrible person because, like, who breaks up with their significant other over Patreon? And also, as the significant other, can you imagine, like, going to the Patreon for updates?
Right. That's just.
Or did he find out through somebody else that the announcement was made through Patreon? In which case, there still has to be a conversation. Like, there still has to be, like, a, yo, just saw your Patreon.
Right.
WTF. Like, why is this happening? Murder hornets! Out of the country.
Oh. Now
Wow.
We're just rambling.
Yeah, we're fully rambling. That's
Do you
better.
have a 4-year-old together? Ah.
That's
Aw.
flopped. That's flopped dubbed.
But
Now we're all out of focus.
we don't want people to be together if they're unhappy together. But I think we should have, more respectful way to end a relationship.
I mean, I'm glad the relationship is over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, apparently they straight up had not even talked about it. This is something that apparently we should be like those respond channels, react channels. Like, 2 teachers react to terrible gossip news.
Can we react to little kitten videos better? Because I'll just happy cry.
2 teachers cry while looking at cat videos. Yes, please send it to me. YouTube news channel. It would just be me parroting everything that Philip DeFranco says. I like riding my motorcycle, so my hair is blown back and stays like that. I also wish I had a motorcycle, but I'm not allowed. Sorry, I zoomed in too much.
Yeah,
No,
I-
you're not allowed to.
Okay, I mean, it's 4:15.
Okay, so we should probably go to bed.
Girl, what are you talking about? What am I talking about? Oh, no, not me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
What you talking about?
Ooh, I think I picked up an artwork, Sandy, because the lady has really, really long hair. And so I was going to do stuff with my long hair to be the lady.
Okay, with that being said, I will post a video tomorrow. Miss Ely is probably going to post a
Yes.
video tomorrow as well. And we're not going to bed. Did you say go to bed?
Did I?
Did I say go to bed? The kids are napping.
The
so
kids are napping.
This LaCroix has got me just trashed. I'm not going to lie. And it's not my first. I'm chugging them down. It's been Zoom meetings all day, and I've just been sitting on my butt, drinking LaCroix and trying to play off the fact that I have this stream set up for all of my Zoom meetings. And everyone's like,
Why is it so fancy?
what you got going on there? I have not spiked my LaCroix.
What?
I shoot my head. I have not spiked my LaCroix. That's called a White Claw, and I'm not about it.
We are going
All
to
right.
eat. Okay.
Hmm?
Nothing.
Snap your claps, clap your japs. Oh, Neely, bad timing. And don't forget to yell, quack. Quack.
Oh, Bubble. Did you look it up? Is that what it is? Oh.
Apparently it's for older. They're quacking at us. Okay,
Quack,
quack.
quack.
Oh, quick, quack. Quick quack. Quick quack? Car wash? All right, quack.